Thank you. So, excuse me. So now let's move to item 14, venues Ōtautahi, and the interim report for the 6 months to 31st December 2021. And welcome to Gil, Caroline and Dale. And I'll hand over to Linda or directly to the team from venues Ōtautahi.
It's Linda here. I just will quickly introduce the report. As you might expect, the key theme from the report is the ongoing impact of events or lack of events over the half year due both to border closures and the limits on numbers of attendees. And I can hand over to Caroline, Gil and Dale.
Thanks, Linda. And thank you very much, councillors, for giving us the opportunity to talk to you about the quarter ended December. But in saying that, and I'm going to hand over to Caroline in a couple of seconds to do that, in saying that we will talk about that quarter, but we will also try and give a glimpse into the murky waters of the future, which hopefully is starting to clarify a little bit, but has still got some way to go. So the thrust of this will be to look at what's happened up to and including the quarter ended December, and then a look into the future. Remember, the quarter we've been in right now has been pretty turbulent, but a look more into the future as to what might be happening. Caroline, can I ask you to talk that through? And then we'll talk it through and then take questions at the end. I think that's going to be the most efficient way of dealing with it. Thank you.
Lovely, thanks, Gil. Good afternoon now, everyone. Thanks for your time today. Hopefully we'll be in person again sooner rather than later, but nice to see you all virtually. Look, I'll give a bit of a highlight package of the quarter and probably the half, and then just look at kind of the current situation and a little bit of looking forward. Obviously, as we all know, the assumptions that we're dealing with at the moment change on a daily basis, so she's a pretty volatile environment. But as you'll see from the performance to end of December, it was really a game of two halves. We started off really strongly with 56 events across July and August, and a really strong and ahead of budget result for that first quarter. Unfortunately, then we had a bit of Delta activity, and over that last quarter, we had 30% of our events cancel, 44% postpone, and 25% going ahead under restrictions. And those restrictions varied between kind of 50 to 100 packs, which in our venues aren't many events at all. But what we did is we obviously developed a Delta response and recovery strategy. And that looked at cost reduction, where we could access government support, where we could look at alternative revenue streams, where we could continue to support the national COVID response and the local community, where we could progress activity and take advantage of downtime in the venues, and what we could do to accelerate business recovery. So that response and recovery strategy, coupled with the changes that we've made over the last couple of years with a variable resourcing model, far reduced operating fixed overheads, and we actually delivered a really strong result for the 6 months. So whilst we did have a reduction in revenue of 2.2 million and 3 million year to date, that was offset by the wage subsidy and resurgence payments. So and that reduction in overhead of 901,000 for the period. So look, it was a really strong result for the half year, but we think now it would be remiss of us not to talk about the current situation because everything has really changed. We ended the year with a really positive outlook actually for 2021. And we anticipated a gradual rebuild actually over December and January. But with the rapid spread of Omicron and returning to red traffic light settings 23 January, things have really changed. So in a bit of a summary of the current situation, so we've had a 90% reduction in revenue since the 23rd of January. And based on our planning assumptions, albeit those slightly shifted yesterday, we didn't expect event activity actually to return until the end of April. And on that basis, we've got over that January to end of April period, we've got about 10 events that can proceed, 13 that could proceed with limited attendees, 34 that would postpone, and 19 that would cancel. So that's a pretty significant impact if you look at what we're really faced with. And our revised forecast actually looks about a $6 million negative variance against budgeted event revenue. The difference with this response is the lack of wage subsidy and resurgence payments, which have been quite fundamental to our response to date. But in saying that, we are well positioned and is in the best position possible to respond, given everything that we have experienced today and everything that we have changed. Some of the other initiatives that we've put in place are, and as we've talked about, I think at our last briefing, all of our permanent staff have been deployed to event activity and supporting the CDHB vaccination clinic at the Christchurch Arena. That vaccination clinic has also been extended to a rapid antigen test distribution centre. And so we've had about 76% of all of those shifts filled with permanent employees versus casual. So that's really made a big difference to our ability to hibernate actually through this period. We have looked at, and we will likely, although yesterday obviously changed a little bit, an implementation of an Easter close down just to reduce some of those overheads even further. We've split our roster into two teams just to minimise that cross-infection and the ability to continue to deliver as and when we can. We've continued to assess central government options of support, and we've also looked to seek opportunities outside of the venues to support the community. So approaching CDHB, local schools, university halls, rest home and care facilities to provide them with contingency support, not only for kitchen production, but also staff where we can. Some of those initiatives have changed a little bit because the risk profile's changed since close contacts can continue to work, etc. But we continue to offer those support options as we can. So looking forward, and in summary, we're well positioned to recover, to respond, and come out stronger on the other side. We've proven ourselves to be resilient to date and retract, and we'll certainly do that again. The team have been absolutely incredible. They've been flexible. They've looked after each other, and it's a real testament to their strength and resilience as well. But with easing of restrictions from this weekend, we're well placed and slightly earlier than we had expected to make a good recovery. And the outlook for 22-23 is positive with a really strong event forecast, particularly in ticketed events. Look, it will be a road to recovery. It's not always just going to be a quick turn of the tap. We've just got to rebuild confidence in people attending events and holding events, but our clients are absolutely desperate to get back into the venue, and our community is desperate to get back into their venues. And so our focus is really on building that confidence, on attracting those high yield events, those events that have the biggest economic impact for the city, biggest social impact for the city, big ticketed events, get everyone back together. And as always, in navigating our way through these continued challenges, we remain committed in close collaboration with council to continue to face those challenges and recover from those challenges, and building a really strong venues Ōtautahi, and bringing some life and heart back into the venues that have been starved a bit for a little bit too long now. So thank you. That's me, and I guess we'll take any questions.
Absolutely.
Great, thank you very much indeed, and thanks for the very comprehensive presentation. So the changes that are announced for COVID settings from this weekend, how quickly would you imagine, and what types of events have we got coming up where you would imagine that they would start to take effect? I mean, obviously it's outdoor events which are the ones that stand to benefit first. Clearly, we're well through the summer season of outdoor events, but clearly there are other events coming up that will stand to benefit from the changes that have been announced. Could you expand on the effects a little bit further?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. So look, No Limits on Outdoor Events is fantastic for the Women's Cricket World Cup. So the first match at Hagley Oval actually starts today. And so halfway through that, we'll get to open up to an unlimited capacity there. So tickets have gone on sale for that and the next two events also, including the final. So that's really exciting.
Yep.
And we'll have a good impact. Rugby as well, so Super Rugby. Our next match is on the 1st of April. So that's perfectly timed to fit into that lifting of restrictions. And the remainder of the Super Rugby season, obviously, it's shifted all over the place. So we're just waiting to finalise what impact that really has on our ability to really reap the rewards of those outdoor events. But it's really cricket and rugby that's in the immediate future. In terms of yes, the All Black Test. Yeah. So the All Black Test and the Argentina Test later in the year. In terms of indoor events, look, the impact really is immaterial. I think a 100 to 200 at this point in time, there won't be a sudden flurry of that activity. But we are hopeful that in the coming weeks, we may get an announcement that will free that up slightly further, maybe a move back to orange. And that'll make an impact. I think with those indoor events, particularly corporate events, there's a lot of nervousness, and I think that's more around the health risk versus the ability to actually hold events. So I think that's just building that confidence in holding those events, particularly for corporates.
Excellent, thank you. So finally, some light at the tunnel, some exciting times ahead, and in many ways for Christchurch, the decision was made at absolutely the right time in terms of the cricket and the upcoming rugby that you've talked about as well. Excellent, thank you. Phil?
Yeah, thanks, guys. Hey, are we getting, I understand the convention centre is sort of shut for a wee while due to a few things. Are you getting a little bit of an uptake in interest with some of our venues because of that?
Yep, we've definitely acquired a few short lead smaller events, obviously more under that 100 cap. So we've certainly hosted, I couldn't tell you the exact number, but around 3 or 4 so far at the town hall.
Oh, that's good. No, well, so someone's loss is our gain, so that's cool. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? No further questions. Oh, Yanni, sorry. Yep.
Cool. Thank you for what you're doing. I appreciate that you've tried to give us more information around the community discount, and I note that you've said that you've got agreements to not disclose who's had it. I just wondered, are we able to get like in a public excluded session a list of who and how much, or is there no way we can understand who's actually accessing it?
Look, I mean, I think that's something we might need to take offline. It's just our we're obviously not wanting to affect the privacy of anybody that doesn't want to have that disclosed. We can certainly give you those summary numbers of number of events and the value of those discounts, but the individual breakdown is something I guess we would need perhaps the permissions of those who have accessed that discounted rate, but that's certainly something we can look to do, but yeah, it will be outside of this forum.
Yeah, okay, thanks. And just, do we survey the people the community groups that request to use it? Do we do a survey around their experience? Because I think, again, like obviously with COVID, it's quite difficult to get a sense of demand. But I think we have previously talked about how we can activate more people using the town hall, for example, on a more regular basis.
Yeah, we definitely do client surveys. post-event, but not necessarily community discounted events particularly. So it could be actually another couple of questions that we asked in particular relevance to that we could add to our post-event surveys. Absolutely.
Yeah, like just to give one example of an issue that was raised, again, this is prior to the earthquake and obviously things have changed, but one of the barriers for community groups accessing the town hall previously was the high cost of catering and not being able to self cater. So yeah, I just think getting any information that we can, not today obviously, but as we go forward, would be really interesting to understand what some of the barriers may be, because it's a wonderful assets that we have.
Absolutely, and I also think there was another suggestion around how community groups access information. And that's something we can certainly improve on, and it's something we're going to activate with our website as well, which is how do you find out more information about how to access what are those opportunities for community individuals and groups.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. I'm not seeing anybody else indicating questions at this time. So we have a recommendation to note the performance report and financial statements, which I'm happy to move. Do I have a seconder for that? Sam McDonald, so moved by me, seconded by Sam. Is there any discussion? All those in favour say aye.
Aye.
Against? That's carried. Thank you very much. All right, so next moving to item 15, Transwaste Canterbury's annual report.